James Sinclair, a great devotee of Bhagwan from the United States. And it seems Swami would address him as Sinclair Joy. This is how Swami would call him, Sinclair Joy, which means he's a devotee who is so happy, who is so joyful all the time. And that is what Bhagwan tells us, isn't it? Be happy, be happy, be happy. And he led this message of Bhagwan. And this James Sinclair loses his wife in an accident when she is on her way for Swami's darshan in Prasanthi Nilayam. And Sinclair himself, who is mourning and grieving his dear wife's death, when he comes a few days later to Prasanthi Nilayam, Bhagwan gives him darshan and Bhagwan asks him, Sinclair Joy, what do you want? And what is this devotee's reply? He says, Swami, I want what you want for me. See, this is the unconditional, acceptance of the will of God and complete surrender to the will of God. And this is what the Chamatkar should take us through these stages. And also the faith that comes from Chamatkar has another advantage. And Swami explained this, through a beautiful story to primary school students. And Swami was talking to, these little children from primary school, and Swami narrated a story. Swami said, there was a big banyan tree in a dense forest. And on the topmost branch of the tree was perched a little bird which was singing away to glory happily. And then what happens? There is a huge storm. And under the impact of the storm, the entire forest starts shaking and this tree also starts trembling. And soon the branch on which the bird is seated, that comes down crashing to the ground. Then Swami asked the student, what happened to the bird which was there? What happened? When every student was glued to Bhagwan with bated breath, like all of us now, isn't it? Swami said, nothing happened to the bird. Nothing happened to the bird. Why? The bird just shook its two wings, took on its wings, and flew away to the skies of safety and security. Then Swami added, if the bird had depended upon the branch for its support, the bird would come crashing down to the ground. But the bird depended on its two wings. And similarly, Swami said, if you depend upon the world for your support, your life would just come crashing down someday or the other. On the other hand, if you depend upon the two wings, what are the two wings? Swami said, faith and self-confidence. That is when you can soar high in your journey with Bhagwan. So faith and self-confidence are the two wings of the same bird, isn't it? So after all, faith is believe in God who is outside of us, and self-confidence is believing in the God who is inside us, our own innate divinity. And this is the self-confidence that Bhagwan wants us to develop from faith. See, Chamatkar should lead to all these things. Only then we will be able to travel in the next car of samskar. See, speaking about self-confidence, once a student who liked the prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi, he narrates this prayer in the Divine Presence and he says, "O God, make me an instrument of thy peace." This is how the prayer goes, isn't it? Then Swami is happy with this and the boy takes it to heart and that becomes his mantra, and every day he's praying, "Swami, make me an instrument of thy peace." And a year later, when the same student is blessed to speak in the Divine Presence, and he recites the same prayer, and Swami calls him and says, "Who are you to tell me, make me tea, make me coffee, make me an instrument of, thy peace?" Swami says, you must learn to pray. You must learn to plead, Swami, may I be an instrument of thy peace. This is how you must pray. So this modified version becomes this boy's prayer. And a couple of months later, he is again asked to speak in the divine presence. And then he says, may I be an instrument of thy peace, Swami? Then Swami calls him and says, how long you will go on pleading like this? May I, may I, may I? When will you learn to say, I am an instrument of thy peace? See, this is the self-confidence that Bhagwan wants us to develop in this journey. And of course, it comes from Chamatkar and faith in Bhagwan. And Swami says this mansion itself is called self-realization, where we have to live. And the foundation of this mansion is self-confidence. The confidence that comes from our own self of what we truly are. As Swami would often remind us, you're not the body, you're not the mind, you're that unchanging consciousness. And that is what your true identity is. And confidence must come from this self. So I would say self-confidence corresponds to the first human value, Sathya, truth. It is the truth of our own true nature. And when we are seeking this truth, it is but natural for us to practice the human value, truth as well. We must be honest, we must have integrity, we must be truthful in our lives. This is very, very important. And this human value and this self-confidence must take us to the next stage, which is the wall in this mansion, which is self-satisfaction. See, when we have the confidence in the self, that I am that self, then naturally there is no dissatisfaction in our lives. We are happy with what we have. We are happy with, our own self. And that is what gives us self-satisfaction. But what is happening to us since we do not know who we truly are? That is when, when we get something from the world, some object, some relationship, we can be happy, we can be satisfied, our life will be fulfilled, and this is what we are thinking. And that is why we embrace the world with all its attractions and all its vanities, isn't it? On the other hand, when we have self-confidence, there is self-satisfaction. So self-satisfaction represents the human value, dharma, right conduct, the second human value. When we are satisfied with us, naturally all our actions will be based on dharma. We act the right way, the righteous way. And this self-satisfaction must take us to the next stage, which is the roof in the mansion, which is self-sacrifice. Once a group of students were with Bhagwan in the interview room, and there was an elderly lady who was seated. Then Swami points to that elderly lady and tells the student, do you know this lady? She is a very ardent devotee of mine. And in her house, Swami with boyish enthusiasm, he says, Kumkum appears, Vibhuti appears, and Amritam manifests, and Swami himself manifested in her altar once. And then Swami asked this lady to narrate her story, and she starts her story. Her story goes like this. See, she would attend the bhajans in her neighbor's house, Sai Bhajans on Thursdays. And every bhajan session, there would be some manifestation or the other, like kumkum, vibhuti, amrit, sugar candy, and so on. So she thought, if I arrange bhajans in my house, all these manifestations will take place. And she happens to be a very affluent lady, and she sets up a very beautiful grand altar and, calls her neighbors and calls the entire colony and a grand function, and she starts conducting bhajans. And weeks pass by, months pass by, and nothing happens, and no materialization or anything. So this lady is now very upset. And one day she says, enough is enough. I want to have, see Swami in my altar. And she just sits in her altar and tells Swami, Swami, I want only you. I want to have your darshan, Swami. That is what I want. and she just starts praying. They starts chanting Bhagwan's name. And when she is immersed in Namasmarana, one day passes, and next day, when she is so lost in the thought of Swami, Swami manifests in her altar, and she has the darshan of Bhagwan. And now Swami takes over the story, and Swami says, see, this lady, when she wanted to have bhajans in her house, she had a laundry list for me, huge list, to-do list. Swami, this photo kumkum should appear, this photo vibhuti should come, and when this particular bhajan is sung, candy should manifest. And this is what her wish was. But one final day when she decided, I want to have darshan of Swami alone, that is what I want. Not all these. When she did away with all this laundry list, and when he yearned for Bhagwan and Bhagwan alone, then that is when Swami manifests and give her darshan. See, this is the state of self-sacrifice. When we are able to sacrifice our wants, a little I, me, mine, I am Mr. So-and-so, I have accomplished all these things, and this all belongs to me. When that is sacrificed at the divine altar, it is, the stage of the human value, that is peace or shanti. What does Swami say about peace? You come asking, I want peace. Remove the I, the ego, that I am this, and remove the want, the desire. The peace is there for you. And the self-sacrifice is this peace that passeth all understanding. That is what is known as Prasanthi. And all these values are the one that take us to the next stage. The mansion is complete, which is self-realization. And self-realization, so we can easily say now, it stands for the human value, prema, love, isn't it? That is what Bhagwan is, Premavatar. He says, this love of mine is my greatest gift, to the humanity. And the path that he has taught us is Prema Yoga. That is the path. And what is love? L-O-V, love. It is letting out vicious energy. That is love. And when we love, we live. What is live? Letting in virtuous energy, Bhagwan's energy. So we love to live, and that should be our life. So this is what Chamatkar must take us to. This Chamatkar is a long journey, as we have seen. And now we have to change our car, because the terrain is different and we can't afford to travel in the same car. So what is the second car that Bhagwan speaks of? It is samskar. Samskar is refinement. So it is the car of self-transformation. See, if we are the same busy body which we were probably a decade or 2 decades or many, many decades ago when we came to Bhagwan's fold, today if we are the same, then we have got stuck at the level of Chamatkar. We have not moved into the car. That is samskar. And when we say it is transformation, it is not a very simple process. As Swami himself says, gold is put into high temperatures, intense fire, so that it can be purified, and many jewelry can be made out of gold. And that is the stage also for us. It is not a bed of roses or a journey filled with chocolates all along. It is not so. And our willingness to go through this transformation is very essential. Otherwise, we would be just at the stage of Chamatkar, wanting, again and again from Swami what we want, and not progressing to the stage where we seek what he has come to give us. That is the ultimate freedom. See, once 2 stones, marble stones, were brought to a temple construction site. Both were similar looking and similarly priced, and one marble stone is carved into the beautiful deity of the temple, the presiding deity of the temple, and the other marble stone is put on the floor in the sanctum sanctorum. So naturally, this floor marble stone starts complaining. See, both of us are similar looking. We come from the same place. Everything is same with us. But today, see, people worship you because you are the image in the temple. You are the deity in the temple. And people tramp on me. So what is this? This is how this marble stone keeps on grumbling. And then this deity marble stone says, when the sculptor came to you with his tools, the chisel and the hammer in his hands, what did you say? Oh, please don't come near me, don't cut me, don't hit me, it pains me, please go away. You didn't allow him to work on you, but I willingly submitted myself to the sledgehammer blows of the sculptor, and that is why I am what I am today. So this is the process that we must willingly submit ourselves to, the divine sculptor when he wants to work on us. But see, already in this marble stone, the deity is already there. The image of the deity is already there in the stone. And what the sculptor does is to chisel out all the extra bits so that the image of the deity, emerges on its own. Similarly, the divinity which is already within us, innate within us. And what does this divine sculptor do with his tools? He chisels out all those extra bits. Our, pride, ego, self-aggrandizement, all those unwanted things that we carry with ourselves, that is chiseled out by the divine sculptor. And no doubt it is a painful process. And this samskar is what will lead us to the next car. We have to change the car again. Again the terrain has, it is something different. Once a man goes to a supermarket where God runs the supermarket. And he says, God, are you the owner of this supermarket? Yes, my dear boy. Can I get whatever I want here? Yes, certainly. In this supermarket, you can get whatever you want. Then this man, says, I want some peace and I want some happiness. And God says, in God's supermarket, we do not sell the finished products. We sell only the raw things. So the raw materials is what is sold here. Similarly, the seeds of love, the seeds of service that is sown in our heart by Bhagwan himself. Why do I say that it is Bhagwan who sows the seeds of love in our heart? Once Aldrakar, a great devotee of Bhagwan, happens to ask Swami, we know that we love you because we feel this warmth in our heart whenever we think of you. This is what happens to all of us, isn't it? The moment, we think of Swami, such a beautiful feeling in our heart. And he asks Swami, how do we know that Swami loves us? And Swami, very beautifully, he replies, see, Bangaro, it is not like this. None can love me without I loving them. I love you first, only then you can love me. I sow the seeds of love in your heart. And when we call ourselves devotees of Bhagwan, isn't it our responsibility to nourish this seed with our own love, with devotion to Bhagwan, and with the duty towards Bhagwan that we practice his teachings. And when it becomes a tender sapling, to protect it with discipline that we follow in our life, and discrimination of what to entertain in this journey and what to let go of and what not, what to do and what not to do, to have this discrimination and the determination to walk this path, as I told, through the stages of trust, obey, accept, surrender. And these 5 Ds are what we need to practice so that the seed that becomes a sapling that grows into a mighty tree of love. And when we share this bounty of love with our fellow beings, that is when we can progress to the stage of Paropakar. What is Paropakar? It is just not doing good to others or serving others. Swami says Paropakar is Para plus Upa plus Kara. Para means divinity. Upa means near, kara means to join. The service, the seva that we do must take us to Bhagwan. And it is only when we realize this love that binds all of us together, that universal love, that Bhagwan's love, when we are able to see the oneness that we share with our fellow beings and serve them with this, feeling of unity or oneness, that is when we are practicing true seva. That is when, we are correctly traveling in this car, that is Paropakar. That's why, Swami says, what seva does to you is more important than what, we do as. What seva does to us is more important than what we do as seva. That's why Swami would often say, serve so that you may be saved. We are saved from many, many distractions and many, many obstacles in this journey with Sai when we serve in the right spirit of seva. Seva is Sa plus Eva. Sa means divinity. Sa means God, Him. That is also the Sanskrit meaning. Eva means like. Seva is you become like Him. You become like God. You become like Swami when you do seva. And it is this Paropakar that takes us to the final stage in this journey, that the fourth car, that is Sakshatkar, when we realize ourselves to be that divine, when we realize the divinity which is already within us, and all the extra bits in the stone that we are, the raw stone that we are, when it is chiseled out by Bhagwan, this divinity emerges on its own. And these are the four cars that Bhagwan has given us in this journey. Having said so, what are the obstacles in this journey? And what are the challenges that are there? See, even when we are doing seva, sadhana, and we claim ourselves to be, spiritual seekers, the moment something goes wrong in our life, even in the sadhana that we do, we are so upset and we start blaming everyone around us, isn't it? We blame our spouse, blame our children, and blame the system, blame the boss, blame the government, and blame God Himself, isn't it? When something goes wrong and when we are not able to do our seva, our sadhana, even in the spiritual practices that we are doing, least realizing that the challenges, the obstacles are coming from within us, isn't it? So what is this main obstacle for us in this journey through these four cars? Especially, when samskar to paropakar, that is the longest lap in this journey. If that is covered, the final stage, the final lap in the relay is very, very easy for us to complete this relay race through with these four cars. See, whatever we think, we speak or act, that is every thought, word and deed of ours, as we know, that leads to the result of the action, the fruit of action. When a thought leads to a fruit, that is why Swami says everything is reaction, reflection, resound. Reflection refers to the outcome of our own thoughts. Resound is the outcome, the fruit of action of our own words. And reaction is the outcome of all the actions that we do. So together we call it karma phala, the fruit of action. Not only there is fruit of action, but all that we do, all that we think, speak and act, that also leads to an indelible impression in our subconscious, which is known as a samskara. The samskara, over a period of time, gets solidified into a deep-seated impression in us, and that is known as vasana. See, when we are born, we are not only born with the karma that we have to expend in this life. This is known as fate or destiny, that is prarabdha karma. That itself, determines our birth, in which family we are born, and who are the people that we meet, and what is the way of life that we are going to lead. All this is determined by our prarabdha karma, so-called destiny. But we also come with the suitcase of these deep-seated tendencies or vasanas in us. See, our choices in any given situation, our reaction to situations, our responses, and our character itself, these are all determined by these vasanas in us. But these vasanas are in unmanifest condition in us. We do not know what type of vasanas we have. Good, bad, positive, negative, we do not know because they are in the subconscious level. And in any given situation, it is this vasana that fructifies into a thought, word, and action in us. So to say, we all operate out of a preconditioned mechanism in us, a habitual mechanism that just takes off. I'll give a very simple example, a very innocuous example, but our attachments are not so simple. And this is something we can all relate to. See, I go to a supermarket and I see a dress, and the dress catches my attention. There's a desire in me to buy that dress. But I think foolishly that this attraction or the desire is coming from the dress, isn't it? But what does Swami say? There is no defect in the creation. There is no srishti dosha. The creation is perfect. The desire is not out there. It is coming from within me, my own drishti, my own vision, how I look upon it. So where is this desire coming from? This desire is coming from a vasana for this particular sense object or the dress that is already within me. See, I may get attracted to a dress, and my friend who is with me, that may not make any impact on her. She would not be desirous of it because it is my own vasana that has produced this desire for the dress. Then what happens when this desire is born in our mind? If the intellect in us, the buddhi in us, which if it is sleeping, most of the time it is sleeping for us, the intellect. It doesn't discriminate, isn't it? That's why we act out of impulse and habituation and preconditioning. And if that intellect doesn't check the desire there, this desire becomes a well-sustained thought in the mind, and the mind starts justifying that thought. Yes, tomorrow there is a party that you are going to. If you wear the dress, it will be so nice and everyone will come and compliment you. See, dear brothers and sisters, whether we like it or not, accept it or not, we are dishing for compliments all the time. Even a seeker who does seva and sadhana, he wants some recognition. And somebody should come and thank me, you did this well. This is what we are all, after these compliments. So that is the play of the mind. The mind starts justifying that desire and the body acts upon this desire and we go and buy the dress. But now let us look at it from a spiritual perspective, by bringing in Bhagwan's teachings here. See, this is where, the teachings of Bhagwan are so important for us to practice. What does Bhagwan say? Sealing on desires. So when it comes to this dress, Swami says, ask yourself the question, can you afford it? Yes, we are affluent, rich, we can afford it. There is a yes. Do you need this? Again, the mind cannot decide yes or no, yes or no. Then Swami says, ask yourself, can you do without it? So these are the filters that we have to apply, like at this vasana level by bringing in the teachings of Bhagwan. And so at the junction of this vasana, becoming a desire, a thought, and becoming an action in us, all of us, there is a narrow window of opportunity for us where, based upon the teachings of Bhagwan, we can exercise our conscious self-control. We ourselves have this control, whether to disallow the negative vasanas in us. not allow it to fructify. There are so many bad vasanas. If we act upon it, our actions will be again the same negativity, and the vicious cycle goes on in us. So we all do have this, opportunity to exercise our conscious self-control. And this self-control depends upon our sadhana. The sadhana that we are doing to connect to Bhagwan. How much, I want to please Bhagwan. How much of Bhagwan's teachings I want to practice in my life. And how much of Bhagwan's approval I need every time when I act upon my desire, when I act upon my vasana. If we are able to exercise this self-control, we disallow all the negative vasanas and they do not fructify. And we allow only those sadvasanas, to fructify, only those good virtuous vasanas, so that we progress further in our spiritual journey. Our own purity, the purity of our own heart increases. And as we progress in our journey, we do have a third possibility, that is to replace this negative vasana with a positive thought. Somebody comes and shouts at me. If I had this anger vasana in me, I shout back and I may even hit back at that person. But if I think, will Swami approve of this? What does Swami say? Krodham jnana nashanam. The anger that you have, you burst out into every time. That destroys the knowledge itself in you, what all you have studied about Bhagwan. If we remind ourselves this, then we not only disallow this anger vasana to fructify, but we may even replace it with a thought which is loving, caring, and kindness towards that person who has hurt us or harmed us. This is how we progress in our spiritual journey, and this conscious self-control comes from how much we hold on to Bhagwan and how much of his spiritual teachings that we want to practice in our lives. See, many a times we are put in situations which we do not like. By providence, it so happens that, we are in a place where we have to rub shoulders with people we do not see eye to eye. But nevertheless, we have to perform our duties. And especially then, whatever position that I am put in by Bhagwan, I will use this itself as an opportunity to progress in my life. See, when we want to do everything for Bhagwan, all these will not matter at all. Something which we may not like, but still we would love to do that because we are doing it for Bhagwan. Once a student who had completed his graduation, and Swami asked him to apply for the first batch of MBA when Bhagwan started the MBA program in his institute. And this student is not interested in studying. Because Swami has said so, he applies. And Swami told me to apply, that's it. And he doesn't, want to even go for the examination, the entrance test. And Swami says, no, you have to go and write the test. And obviously, this student is not prepared because he's not interested in the MBA program. And somehow Swami has told me, so he goes and writes the exam. And he has obviously not done well in the entrance test. And when the results are out, this student's name is first on the selection list. And Swami calls him and says, see, I had to release the chancellor quota. Swami is the chancellor of the university. I had to release my chancellor's quota to give you a seat, and now you better study this MBA program. And this boy who is not so much interested in this subject does not do well in his semester exams. And when Swami calls him and asks, what are your grades? He is not able to give a very happy, a reply that would satisfy Bhagwan. And then Swami says, yes, I always tell, marks are not important. What is important is remarks. But today, I am telling you, please give me marks. I want your marks. And that is the motivation, inspiration for this boy to study well, put himself into this something which he doesn't want to do by himself. But Swami has told me to do so. So I will study well, and he gets, O grades and makes Bhagwan happy. So it all depends upon how much we want to please Bhagwan, how much of approval we want to get from him in all that we think, we speak, and we do. and how much of his teachings that we want to practice. And this is the sadhana for us. And obviously, we know for this, our mind has to be trained. That is the instrument that we have got, isn't it, to do the sadhana. So what is this mind all about? The mind with the 5 senses, the huge sensory system we have, not 1, but 5 senses. So many inputs into the mind, from the external world through these 5 senses. And along with the body, it is like a mighty elephant, isn't it? And we have something to control the mind, which is the buddhi, which is the intellect. But the intellect, however big it may be, like say, if the mind is the elephant, intellect is the rider or the mahut. However huge the mahut may be, a sumo wrestler, in front of this huge elephant, he is so puny, he is so tiny, isn't it? So how will this mahut control the elephant? See, one day we decide tomorrow I am going to get up and I better start meditating and start doing my sadhana. I want to, I have to have certain discipline in my life and certain control over myself. Then what happens? The intellect says, yes, get up in the morning. But this mind with the body says, you have signed up for that meditation program, you go, I am not going to come. The body will not get up, the mind will not allow the body to get up, I want to sleep. And the elephant has its own agenda. It doesn't listen to the mahut. It wants to go here, there, and when the mahut says go in this particular direction. This is what is happening to us all the time when we are unconsciously operating out of our vasana system. See, I told it is this vasana that determines our character. No, that's why Swami says, sow a thought, reap an action, sow an action, reap a habit, sow a habit, reap a character. This thought comes from how we tackle our vasanas. But modern neuroscience also explains the same thing. See, when there is a sensory stimulus into our brain from the world, that stimulus first goes into the amygdala, which is the seat of emotions in us. It is called amygdala hijack. The stimulus itself is hijacked by the brain to go into the amygdala. And if the stimulus is processed in this amygdala, naturally, we will have emotional reactions to any stimulus from the outside world. And this is what, vasana pressure is all about. This is how we are reacting emotionally out of our emotions, allowing, every sundry vasana to fructify. But if we are able to delay this amygdala hijack, if we buy sufficient time so that the same stimulus from the world, which comes through the senses, instead of being processed in the amygdala, if there is sufficient time for it to reach the frontal cortex, which is the seat of logic, this is the logical brain in us, the rational brain in us. If we can delay this processing of the stimulus in the amygdala, if it can reach the frontal cortex, then our response will be of logic and rationale. We will not be reacting out of emotions from amygdala, but we will be selecting a response which we want out of logic. So when we learn to delay this amygdala hijack, that is where, our spiritual practice becomes so important. See, when somebody shouts at us, instead of just, bursting out, in a fit of anger, if we are able to control ourselves, we can, take deep breaths, and that is how we control. Don't react, but stop, think, and respond. Select a response in alignment with your goal. If we are able to delay the response, that is why, the Namasmarana, the Nama Japa that we do, we start chanting the name of Bhagwan, initially some 100, 200 times, for the temper to go down, so that we respond from the frontal cortex, not out of amygdala. But slowly this number comes down. We are able to get more and more self-control over ourselves. And this all comes from the sadhana that we do, how we train the mind through sadhana. So the elephant is amenable for training by the rider or the mahut, that is the intellect. And that is why the sadhana that we do has to be systematically done, rigorously done every day, day after day, without giving any excuse. And we all, have seen the elephant being controlled by the Mahut, isn't it? The elephant learns to listen to the Mahut. And this is how our mind also learns to listen to the seat of logic, the intellect in us. And this comes from systematic sadhana, which is called abhyasa. And this is very, very important for us. So is abhyasa alone enough for this self-control? Let's see, there is one more thing. Like this Arjuna says to Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, you have taught me all this, technique of meditation, the do's and don'ts of meditation. But it is so difficult to control the mind. And how do I control? He lists 4 problems. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna, pramadhi balavadhridam. Chanchala, the mind is restless. And pramadhi, it is so impulsive. Balavad, it is strong in its attachment to the world. And dhridam, it is so unyielding. And how do I control all these 4 things in the mind? See, as we have seen now, the systematic training through abhyasa answers, it tackles the first 2 problems, which is restless nature of the mind, impulsive nature of the mind. We are able to exercise conscious self-control, select a response in alignment with our goal of pleasing Bhagwan, practicing Bhagwan's teachings, acting the right way, the righteous way all the time, that will please Bhagwan, and acting upon dharma all the time. And the other 2 problems, balavad dhridam, attachment and unyielding nature, and that has to be tackled by bringing in, the Lord says there are 2 things, abhyasena tu kaunteya, vairagyena cha grihyati. Abhyasa for the first 2 problems, vairagya for the next 2 problems of the mind. Once, speaking to a group of students, Swami said, this external world that I have given you, I have not designed it to give you happiness. Then one of the teachers asked, then how are we to get happiness, Swami? Swami said, I have given you another world, the inner world, and only there you can seek happiness, not in the world. See, once, speaking to a group of students, Swami asks, if a Mercedes-Benz car, an expensive glittery car, is parked in your compound, how do you feel? Naturally, everyone feels happy, and that was everyone's answer. And Swami said, suppose the same car is parked in your neighbor's porch, how do you feel? No answers coming forth. Swami said, let alone feel happy. You may go even green with envy, isn't it? So Swami says, if happiness were to lie in the car, no matter wherever the car is parked, be it your portico, neighbor's compound, or even for that matter in the showroom, that it should give you happiness. But that is not so, isn't it? So where does happiness lie? Swami said, I have given you this inner world. For this vairagya, dispassion, certain amount of detachment from the world is very, very important. To know, to have the firm conviction that this external world, this finite world, this ever-changing world cannot give me the happiness, the infinite happiness, the perpetual happiness. We want to be happy all the time. We want to be supremely happy. So the infinite happiness that I am seeking, this world is not capable of giving me. And what would Swami say? Happiness is union with God. So how do we develop detachment to this world? And Swami gives a very beautiful formula all devotees can easily practice. That is, when you attach more and more yourself to Swami, there is naturally detachment to the world. The more and more we love, grow in our love for Swami, the more and more we attach ourselves to Swami, to please Swami, to practice his teachings, naturally the world takes a back seat. See, when we have eaten a very sweet gulab jamun, if someone offers us, a cup of coffee, even with 10 spoons of sugar in it, the coffee tastes bitter. Similarly, when we have tasted the love of Swami, this world, the coffee, however, attractive, phenomenal it may look, that takes a backseat for us. And that is what we need to cultivate. Once, during a summer course, during the discourse, Swami took a matchstick and he lighted it against, struck it against a matchbox. And the matchstick, naturally caught fire immediately. Then Swami took another matchstick and dipped it in a glass of water. And he tried to strike it against the matchbox. It wouldn't catch fire. Swami said, a mind that is bereft of the attachment to the world, like the dry matchstick that holds on to Swami so easily, that will catch the fire of jnana, the knowledge, so easily. But a mind that is steeped in the world, dipped in water, the world it is very difficult for it to catch this fire of jnana. So this balavathridam, that is countered by this dispassion, detachment, vairagya to the world, and for which we have to attach more and more ourselves to Bhagwan. And to attach more and more ourselves to Bhagwan, there is no better tool for us than his organization itself, isn't it? We are all members of this organization, where every activity is designed by Bhagwan himself, for us to progress through all these things, seva, sadhana, to progress in our knowledge, progress in our attachment to Bhagwan. All the activities, see, if you look at the 9-point code of conduct, the charter that is given by Bhagwan, karma yoga, to purify the mind, seva is there, sadhana is there, to unify the mind, to focus our mind on Bhagwan. And there is this Jnana Yoga, regular study of Sai literature and meditating upon the self, daily meditation and prayer. All the activities are there. And also how to conduct ourselves, in the world. Like Swami says, speak softly, obligingly, do not speak ill of others. See, we have to progress in the spiritual journey. All the three, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga are essential for us. So with the objects of the world, we have to be mathematical, which means we must use them for our use. It is necessary for our utility, for our comfort. Yes, they do matter, but we should use them and not be used by them. Do not become a slave. So be mathematical with the world. And with the people in the world, be musical. That means, always be pleasant with them, love them, and, care for them, share, what you have with them. This loving attitude, kindness, compassion. Be musical with the people in the world. And with your own self, be meditative. To access the inner self, that the divinity that we are all. And for this, all the three, yogas are essential, and all the three are given by Bhagwan in the charter itself, and all the activities in the organization itself, they revolve around all these three paths for us. And the common factor, the USP, the ultimate selling proposition in this for us is Daiva Priti, our love for Swami. That is there. Everything is taken care of. Karma is done with bhakti, love for Swami. That becomes karma yoga. And we learn more and more we want to engage in sadhana because our love for Swami, we want to connect to the inner Swami. And we want to, realize the self, jnana marga. See, if we have to, practice this path of jnana sadhana, the atma jnana sadhana, the most important thing is vairagya, dispassion to the world. The world is unreal. It cannot give me what I am looking for, the infinite happiness. This viveka, discrimination between what to let go of in our spiritual journey, what to hold on to, and what to hold on to, what to let go of. That is, let go of the world, vairagya. That comes from our bhakti, our love for Swami. Because knowledge is there in the head. It is an intellectual, understanding that I am not the body, I am not the mind. But in the realm of the heart, what do we have? We all come with this baggage of vasanas. As I said, it's a preconditioned mechanism. And we are doing seva, sadhana, all this to progress. But at the level of the heart, we have this likes and dislikes, desire. We want to get something, get rid of something. This is what we are torn, apart between these two. So the desire at the level of the heart, and what is the nature of desire? I want the world, and replace it with love for Swami, devotion. What is the nature of devotion? I want God. I want Swami. So when we want that, naturally the world takes a backseat, as I said, and this is how we progress in developing one of the important qualifications, Viveka, Vairagya, Vichara, for this path of Jnana Yoga, the path of wisdom as well. And these are all some of the, all these things are given to us by Bhagwan, and it is up to us to practice. So putting all this, I would say, in our sadhana, 3 things that we can do. Bhagwan himself has told, I'm just categorizing, putting it under 3 broad headings, that's all, the threefold formula. Simplest sadhana, always think of me. Swami says, Namasmarana. All of us can do this. No special qualification is required, isn't it? See, when the creation took place, then there was division of property between God and man. God is Narayana, man is Nara. And God says, there are these 2 things that are there with me, the name and the form. I will hide the form. I will keep the form of the Lord, the God with me. But O Nara, O man, I will give you by my name. That is, I will empower you with my name. So the name of the Lord is as powerful as the form of the Lord himself. So this Namasmarana, chanting the name of the Lord, connecting to Bhagwan, it's a 24/7 hotline, wherever we are, whatever we are doing. And whatever we are doing, we can sanctify it with, just by the name of Swami, and that is the simplest sadhana. And the second formula is do all work as my work. There is no difference between the household chores that we do, the seva that we do in the Sai organization, and the professional responsibility, the office work or hobbies and whatever, we are required to do in our personal lives. I want to share some of the, a glimpse from one of the books. It is called Practice of the Presence of God. It is a compilation of articles, experiences of a monk who is known as Brother Lawrence of the Resurrection. This Brother Lawrence was a monk in a monastery in the medieval East. And this monk was not a priest monk, was not an erudite monk, which means he would not preach in the church, but he would work as a cook in the monastery. And this blessed, monk, in and through all his activities, he has to work in the kitchen, and he would be so constantly conversing with Christ. He would say, if I take this much of salt to put in the dish, will it be enough for this dish? And the dish I am making, if I put these ingredients, will it, will it be tasty for my brother monks? Today there is a feast in the hall and I want to, prepare so many dishes. And what is the size of the pots I have to use, pans I have to use? So constantly in and through his activities, he would speak to Jesus Christ. And this monk says, amidst the clatter and the noise of the kitchen, where my brother monks are asking for me several things from me at the same time, I behold my Christ the Lord with the same fervor as I would do on my knees in the altar. So there is nothing, secular, there is nothing spiritual. Everything is spiritual. Everything that we do, every ritual that we do in our day-to-day life, that is all spiritual. So, do all work as my work. Everything is his work. And the third formula, offer all your actions to me. Sarva karma bhagavad prityartham. See, in Anyatha Sharanam Nasti, there is a beautiful incident. This is a book written by Srimati Vijaya Kumari, and Swami would call her Kumarama. Once, in the wee hours of morning, Swami calls the mother of this Vijaya Kumari Amma, and he says, I am hungry and make dosas for me. And Swami follows her to the kitchen. And Swami, cautions her, when you are making dosa, the noise that comes, see, when we spread the batter on the pan, and when we put oil or ghee, because of the moisture, there is this chewy noise that comes. Swami says, I don't want to hear that noise. I don't like that noise. The noise should not be there. when you make the dosas. And this, humble soul, the blessed soul that had realized the divinity in Bhagwan when Swami was a little boy, she very humbly says, Swami, I will make dosas. Doing dosas is my work, yes. But I have offered that to you. Making the dosas and doing it as an offering to you. Then it is up to you to see how it, turns out. Whether the noise is there, noise is not there. It is up to you. So offer all your actions to me. This Swami says, if we are able to offer every thought, word and deed of ours, then, naturally, we wouldn't be indulging in all those undesirable things, all those things which we would be otherwise indulging in, isn't it? This is how we learn to purify ourselves. And when we do offer all our actions to Him, Sarva Karma Bhagavad Prityartham, that I am not the doer, this Kartrutva, the doership is not there, that I am just an instrument, I am put in this position and whatever, has to be done, it is His will, and I am not the doer. When we get rid of this doership, and naturally, see, it is the doership. It is the doer who demands the fruit of action. I have done something and I must get something out of it. When this doership is not there, then there is no personal stake in doing anything, isn't it? So we have given up our attachment to the fruit of action. We are not asking what is in it for me. Whatever comes, it is Swami's will, Swami's grace, whatever the outcome of the action. It is called anugraha. It is called kripa. So, there is no karma phala that is accrued when the doership is not there. It is only anugraha phala. See, I started with the MS exam, isn't it? March, September exam. And in this exam, we have, put in all these self-efforts. We are prepared for the exam. And we have learned, we have studied, we have toiled, and we have written the exam. And if we are able to get even 33, 34 marks, this anugraha phala, the grace of the Lord will give us the remaining marks that is required for us to pass. And we will pass this March exam so that we do not come for the supplementary September exam. This anugraha is called kripa in Sanskrit. Kra means to do something. When we put in self-efforts towards, Bhagwan, pa means to get something. We get the grace of the Lord, and there isn't anything that His grace cannot accomplish for us. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayati girim yat kripatamaham vandi paramananda Sai Madhava. It is the grace of Lord Sai Madhava alone that can make the mute speak, the lame climb the mountains, and it alone can give us the supreme bliss that we are all after, having come into this world and having donned, many a role to play. It is His grace that can take us to the destination in this journey. With deepest sense of gratitude, I thank Bhagwan for this wonderful blessing of speaking on His teachings in this August gathering, in this wonderful gathering. And I pray to Bhagwan on behalf of all of us, so that we stay on the path and we are able to, take this ride in all the 4 cars and not just get stuck in one of the cars, so that this Sakshatkar, the 4th car, becomes a reality for all of us by the grace of Bhagwan. I offer it at Bhagwan's lotus feet. Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Sai Ishwarar Pranamastu. Thank you very much. Jai Sai.